Hello Africa, welcome to the CGC show on AETV. AETV is the voice of higher education in Africa. We are coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities here in Accra, Ghana. My name is Jaguar Omi. Do follow the conversation via social media platforms at A_TV on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AETV Official on Instagram. Big thank you to Akosia Collection GH for my beautiful blouse and GD Makeover GH for my makeup. You can follow them on Instagram via their pages on the link down below. And today we'll be talking about civil engineering as a career. My guest is here in the studios. I'll introduce him after the break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you just tuned in, we are watching the CGC show on AETV, and today we will be talking about civil engineering as a career. My guest is here in the person of Mr. Louis Inkumsah. I would give you the chance to introduce yourself to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Louis Inkumsah.
Okay.
I'm a civil engineer, basically, and I've been doing this job for about roughly 10 years now. That's basically it. And now I work with a company called Jaguar Group. We do mostly sanitary wear, which is still related to engineering though.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what it is now.
What influenced you into choosing civil engineering as a career?
Okay, so I'd say the story goes way back, you know. I had a lot of interest in seeing things get done, right? And then I believe my dad noticed it also. So he liked to be a hands-on person. You know, he liked to get involved in doing things for himself at home, not hiring a person to do it. So even if he can't do it, he reads about it and then he gets it done.
Okay.
So when he's doing it, he kind of uses me as his apprentice, you know. I'll be the guy sitting on his stool whilst he's cutting, whilst he's cutting the wood and things like that. So I believe at a point in time, I took over and started doing things myself at home, you know, fixing the doors, fixing things at home. And I earned a nickname from my siblings. They called me a Mason. Right, so yeah, so further to that, I got to, I boldly spoke out and said I wanted to be somebody who's involved in construction.
Okay.
And my dad, he was an administrator in a school then.
Okay.
So he said, okay, if you want to be in such a field, there are so many of them. There's a building construction, there's civil engineering, there's architecture. So you choose one. So I read some encyclopedias and did some research about what all that's about.
Yeah.
So out of all the three, I chose one. I decided to be a civil engineer because that looked more involving. The rest looked quite boring, honestly. Unfortunately, the other people might be offended, but it looked quite boring. Civil engineering looked like the main thing. Looked like a big deal.
Okay.
So when I went to SS, I decided to do purely technical.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately, I chose a school that did technical. So, and I did what everybody wouldn't do. I chose the same school twice, and chose the same course twice.
Okay.
And then I got in. So yeah, I became a technical student in SS, and then I read courses centering around it. So while I was in school, I spoke to a teacher of mine, Mr. Bobbin, and then he told me, I told him that I wanted to be a civil engineer. He said, then you're in the wrong class. Unfortunately, yes, you're studying the right things, but the courses you are doing now will not allow you to do civil engineering in the university.
Really?
So he gave me the prospectus for the universities. I looked at the entry requirements, and then I decided to add chemistry, which is a requirement in Ghana for civil engineering. Yeah, so yeah, that's the only one I needed because I was doing physics, elective maths, technical drawing, and building construction. So, but the building construction became useful later. You know, going back to being the university, it became very useful to me. It helped a lot. Yeah. So yeah, so I think basically I'd say in a nutshell, it was the interest of seeing things get done at
Done.
home.
I see.
You know, it looked fascinating to see that okay, there's a table was broken, and suddenly it's back to normal.
No,
It
okay.
looked fascinating to see that my dad could put up a shed, and I was like, wow, he could put up a shed. Okay, I want to put up a whole building. You see, So,
Okay.
basically that's how the interest came up. So
Oh,
it's
that's
seeing
great.
people do it
That's
got me
great.
interested in it.
That's great. Almost 10 years of experience. How
Yeah.
has it been for you?
It's been exciting, honestly. It's
Mm-hmm.
especially when the job is done. You know, you see a project or you go to a project and you see that there's nothing there, and by the time you leave, there's a beautiful edifice. It's amazing. It's a really good feel.
I see.
You know, that's the joy of it, and the joy of it is having your name on it to say, like when you pass by and you list out the projects you have to your name. It's a lot of pride.
Yeah.
So it makes it more exciting every day. And the more projects you get done, the more motivated you are, right? Apart from the salary. So,
Yeah.
but the more projects you get, the more motivated you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would want you to talk about the qualities and skill sets needed, because you mentioned that you were given some kind of tutorial at home. And so I'm sure that built you, even though you studied some courses in
Yeah.
school, which we'll talk about later. I want you to talk about the qualities potential students should possess and be able to identify that, okay, this is my career path for me. Okay.
Okay. So first of all, I'd say you should be a hands-on person. That's it. It's very important you're hands-on, or
Okay.
you'll be an engineer, but you'll be bored. Yeah, because if you're not hands-on enough, you be on site, you'd see the other people getting things done, and all you're doing is sitting on your desk, checking what they are doing, and it gets boring. But
Yeah.
when you're involved, it's much more fun, and that's the secret most people don't know. That when you're involved in it, it's much exciting to the whole thing. Yes, yeah.
And amongst those, you mentioned getting things done. Aside that, what do you think has really helped you scale up in your career?
You have to read a lot. You have to be very interested in reading. That's what's helped me
Really?
a lot. Yes,
I thought
unfortunately, people
reading
find
was
it.
for...
No, you have to not just okay. Well, I like to read articles about construction when I was
Okay.
little. It's weird, but you know, I was a weird little kid. You know, reading things that were beyond understanding. I will not
Okay.
read. You will not find me reading these back then. People were reading Goosebumps and stuff. I would be reading, be in the library reading an encyclopedia about tall buildings and how they did it, mega structures. These are the things I watched growing up.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and how they did the whole Dubai thing, how they took engineers from Denmark and Holland, and that was my interest more than what people see as. So you have to be more interested in research
Okay.
to find out, because the trends keep changing. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to school and that's it, I'll be an engineer. You have to have interest in reading and finding out more for yourself.
Sure.
So research will help, being hands-on will help. When you finish with school, I'd say then you need a lot of leadership, not bossiness. You need leadership, because without leadership, you can't get anything done. And that's what I realized. You can finish a job faster if you have a very good quality of a leader than a boss. You finish faster. Yeah.
I see. Take us through the processes in terms of secondary school through to the university. Some of the courses that one will need to take seriously.
Okay.
And then the program to choose when he or she gets to the university.
So like I said before, the most important one, unfortunately, that shouldn't be the case. But here in Ghana, it's really essential that you do 4 electives before you can be a civil engineer.
Okay.
You have to do your chemistry, you have to do your physics, you have to do elective maths, and you have to do, okay, these are the 3,
Okay.
basic 3. So physics, chemistry, elective math, and that's it,
Okay.
before you're allowed to. But, and then the usual course, right?
Technical. Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, unfortunately, I did technical.
Okay.
But it was fortunate. Like I said, it's fortunate for the university, but it's
Okay.
unfortunate for when you want to get in.
Okay.
Right, because
You will not
without
do
it, they will not let you do it,
Mm-hmm.
the course at all, without these requirements. So you would still have to fit in what you need. So even though I studied what would benefit me, I still I had to do certain things to satisfy what the university requires. So yes, and just to touch up on 1 or 2 things, I just felt like some of the requirements were not really necessary, because honestly, I just hope the professors see this, because they should be honest with themselves that we don't really use the chemistry much.
Chemistry, okay.
We use more of technical drawing. We do a lot of CAD drawings. We do a lot of construction things, construction analogies, than even the chemistry. Chemistry is minor, and water resource engineering is minor, not really loud. So if we could add on the others, so that when a person goes in there, he's well equipped, not just because that's the requirement, but you should be knowledgeable in what you're going to do. Because I'll be honest with you, and back there in the university, a lot of my colleagues did struggle because they lacked certain courses like technical drawing. They didn't have it. So they struggled a lot.
Okay.
They really did struggle a lot. So you had to always be helping them out in that aspect.
I'm sure they read the general science and
they read the general science, exactly.
I see.
So then, yes, they have the knowledge of science. They had physics, which is very necessary in certain aspects.
But
elective math was good, but the chemistry wasn't beneficial to them. They didn't use it ever, because we all swerved that aspect, all of us. So, I think it should be there, but there should be other alternatives added to it. It should be there, but you don't really use it, so why force them to have it there?
Are there areas of specialization in this particular field?
Yes, there are. We have transport engineering, structural engineering. We have water resource engineering.
All under civil
engineering.
Wow.
So there's water, there's transport, there's structural engineering, and then there's geotechnical.
So which one do you do?
Honestly, I focus more on structural.
Okay.
Yeah, I focus more on structural.
And why did you choose that?
Because I'd say in my final year, I specialized in a combination of geotechnical and structural more than the rest, than water resource. I didn't touch water resource at all. I didn't touch transportation, unfortunately, even though it was one of my interests. But I'd say at a point in time, I kind of realized that I had to do what the market wanted. The market needed more, because Ghana was not doing putting up roads. We're not doing railways. We're not doing harbors then. So I projected and said to myself, okay, if I really want to be employed after school, I have to focus on structural. And structural can fit in all these aspects. Even on the road, you can still get it done. So yeah, I focus on structural just so I can suit the market more. So that's what I did.
That's what you did.
That's what I did.
And which of these areas of specialization do you, in your opinion, is really, really challenging?
It's weird to say, but in my opinion, it's still structural engineering.
Why?
The rest are pretty much have a lot of theory, but structural is full of mathematics.
Okay.
So you have to be very well equipped in mathematics. And it's been beneficial though.
Okay.
Even though it's difficult, if you really take it serious, you would never struggle anywhere in the civil engineering field, because everything requires some structural aspect of it. Everything has to be stable. That's what structure is all about. Everything has to be stable. So even the road has to be stable. So if you have structural engineering, you can still apply. Yeah.
And you've talked about the courses, you've talked about the skill sets. I believe you guys work with computer software.
Yes, we do. We do.
So which computer softwares do you think students or potential civil engineering people need to equip themselves with? Okay.
The most popular one that we all know, that everyone should be well equipped with, is AutoCAD. But in AutoCAD, there are diverse other aspects of AutoCAD. There's Civil CAD, there's Civil 3D, and there's ArchiCAD. There's even under AutoCAD, they have lots of softwares to suit the different fields. So they should focus. It'll be good to learn a little bit about the architecture part. It will be good to learn a little bit of, because if you have a knowledge of how to use the architectural aspect, you can relate it to, I'd say, to impose your structural drawings onto the architectural drawings. So AutoCAD is important. You select the part that you require. AutoCAD is important. There's HECRAS, there's lots of other softwares. There are so many of them. There's Revit, right? There's Revit, which is also important to structural engineers. There's diverse softwares. And as and when we grow, lots of people keep developing more. Some of them are not known, but they are still much more helpful than even the ones that are out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you just have to be, like I said, research is important. You have to keep searching. So you find the one that suits you.
They are not
But these are popular.
They are not taught in school.
You'll be taught only AutoCAD. And if you have a good lecturer, he'll take you through other ones. My lecturer, I don't remember his name. I think it's Kojo.
Okay.
Took us through HECRAS. That's for designing dams. Right, so that was helpful later also. So yeah, if you have a good lecturer and you can push him a bit, he would give you more of the skill set. But then basically, the only one you'll be taught in school is AutoCAD. Yeah.
Comparing this specific career field to other career fields, do you think it is faring well or doing well in the world currently?
I'd say it's a very easy question to answer because if you just look at even the Burj Khalifa, it answers your question easily that yes, we are doing well.
Okay.
And we will never be lost in the system. Yeah, we'll always be needed because fortunately for us, we cannot be replaced by computers. That's the good thing. And that's what we always look to. Fortunately for us, especially if you're on the field. You know, what you can do, a computer can do on the field. You know, on the field, you need to bring everything on board. So yes, I strongly believe that there's a future, there's a present, and it will always be relevant.
I see.
Yeah.
I would want you to talk more about the challenges when we come back from the break.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. In case you just tuned in, you are watching the CGC show on AATV, and my guest, Mr. Louis Inkumsah, has talked about some of the qualities potential students need to possess, and also how his experience has been so far. I'd want you to tell me some of the challenges that students are likely to face in entering the civil engineering field.
Okay. In entering. Okay.
Yes.
So that's pretty much straightforward. If you don't pre-plan your decision to be an engineer, you face a challenge. But that's only in Ghana. That's only here. You face a challenge of entering in the first place. So that's your first challenge. That's where the first obstacle is. And most of the times it happens that lots of people that we started the course with don't finish based on personal decisions. They decide to join another course. That doesn't mean that it's a difficult course, but it's a course that needs dedication. You cannot go to the pool every time and want to be a civil engineer or an engineer in general. You have to balance your life. You know, it forces you to plan better. So if you're a person who wants to, let's say, have more fun than taking your book serious, you cannot go through it. It's almost impossible. That I can assure you. You cannot go through it. Doesn't mean it's difficult.
How challenging can it get?
Sometimes I believe before you even decide to be a civil engineer, you have to understand that your job as an engineer in general is to solve problems. So you shouldn't take no, it's not possible for an answer. That's where we start from. I will not be on site and someone says, this is impossible, and I say, okay, and go to sleep. I'd go search for a way, because that's what an engineer should do. You should solve a problem. So if you can practice the same culture in school and say, they tell you, oh, this course is very difficult, and you say, I am supposed to solve problems, so I would solve this problem and find a way. You have to find a way to make the course easy for yourself.
Okay.
You know, I had my own techniques, which I don't share with everyone, to make the course easy. You don't have to cheat, but you have to find a way where you put the knowledge in your head. You have to find a system that works for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how you can go through it without having any obstacles.
What are some of the challenges in the industry too?
In the industry, I'd say the major challenge is getting into a company in the first place, because I'd say it will start getting into a company in the first place is where the problem starts. Lots of companies prefer not to interview a person, but they prefer to interview somebody who has been to school. That's how I see it. So you go for an interview and they start asking you questions like, imagine someone asking you a question like, okay, what's 1 + 1? And things like that. That's how I consider it. Also, what's the tensile strength? That's not what That's not what my career is going to be about when I join your company. My career is going to be about joining your company, joining your team to offer a problem-solving technique or
Okay.
skill, whatever I can bring on board. So find out how much I can approach a problem. That's what I want you to find out from me. But that's not what people look out for, especially in Ghana. Especially in Ghana. If my advice to people is, if you feel that you go for interviews and your panelists don't understand you, trust me, you're in the wrong country.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with you. Because if you go for an interview and they're asking you questions that don't make sense to you, right? You don't expect to be using such questions when you start working. Like they're asking you, what's the tensile strength? How does this happen and that happen? In my current company, what we do, I'll give you an example. In my current company, what we do is when we're interviewing people, I interview people for my team. I want to find out, first of all, who you are, how you approach work, and how you understand what you're currently doing.
Okay.
Because if you can't do what you're doing now, then you can't do what I'm going to give you in the future. That's what I believe. Everything else, I believe it is my responsibility as your boss to teach you, or as your leader to teach you, but you should show that you have the basics.
Yeah.
That's what matters to me. So the basics, I must see that you know, right? And how do I know that you know the basics? You said you did engineering. So I have to believe what you've given me, because I
Yeah.
can ask you questions and it could be that I've gone for an interview before where I read a book that morning and everything I read is what they asked me. Doesn't mean I have it in my head,
Yes.
right? I was just fortunate. So you're giving a job to a person who doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. So I declined because I didn't think I fit in such a place because I didn't specialize in it. I just picked the book and said, I must get this job. I read it and said, good, okay, I'm going to do it. So even if you get the job, you feel I don't belong because I don't understand it 100%.
Yeah.
But if I understand what I was doing before I came for your interview, then I believe I'm more marketable. I'm more usable in
Yeah.
the system. That means anything else you throw at me, I can do it.
Yeah, it's true. And share with us your most challenging moment since you started.
My
You have,
most challenging
yeah.
moment was, I've not really encountered much challenges, but I'd say if you could understand one or two things, there was a time when we were supposed to get a crane in, right? So most people know a crane is very expensive to hire. So we brought in the crane the first time and it failed. It couldn't lift the weight, right? Because I'd say one of the problems with some of us as engineers is we trust our men too much, right? It's good to trust them, but then you can take inputs from them and make a decision, not to take exactly what they're telling you. Sorry. I took exactly what they told me and I went ahead without analyzing, without putting in my skills as an engineer. So when the crane came, it failed. And that was a waking up point for me. I was like, wow, okay, you made a big mistake. So I decided to go back and figure out how am I going to get the right crane to suit the job. So if anybody knows, I use the Pythagoras system, right? It took a long time of thinking and I kind of sketched out, took the obstacles on site. You know, I had an obstacle right there. The space was limited. So many challenges in there. So I used the Pythagoras system, introduced one or two things, and then I got what I needed, the parameters I needed. Then I started making phone calls to companies that rent it. Now, instead of me asking them, okay, I have this on site, and I want you to come and see and give me a crane. I told them, I need a crane that can lift this much weight, that can extend a boom to this length. And they were telling me, what are you using it for? I said, I don't want to tell you the details, right? Because you will come and recommend the wrong thing to me. I now believe in what I am giving you. So you take my word. Don't come to my site and recommend to me. Take what I'm telling you. If you don't have it, let's end this call. If you have it, give it to me, right? So it kind of woke me up and made me realize you have to be an engineer now. You cannot rely on the system because whoever is coming might not know what he's doing. He just comes to look and says, oh, this one, we need a crane that is this big, so get this crane. I'll bring you this crane. When he brought it, it failed. So I decided to use my calculations to get the right thing instead of depending on people to say, okay, crane selection is for the crane company. No, you have to also employ yourself as an engineer on site to solve that problem yourself.
So it's more or less like you're always learning something.
You're always forced to use what you know. You're forced to. You know, there was a time when I had to I used to do steel trusses, you know, steel buildings. And I remember calling my boss and I told him, oh, you know, one of the drawings was left out. And he told me, why did I hire you? You're an engineer. design it yourself and put it there. And instantly I was like thinking to myself, no, it's not my job. There's a design team. But then to think about it, I was like, no, you are an engineer on site, right?
So
And
you
you
have
have to get it done.
yeah.
So I got it done. I just took a piece of paper, sketched it, checked the loading, and I put it there.
I can tell how challenging this job can be.
Yes, every day is new as a new challenge. Every day is a challenge.
I see.
Every day. But
I see.
yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you're unable to do because you've chosen to be a civil engineer and your job is demanding?
Okay. I'd say currently it's quite easy. It's quite flexible because,
Okay.
you know, once you step into a managerial shoe, the burden is not much
Yeah.
as before. Yeah, so things become a bit flexible. But before, if you are in, I'll not say down the position, but if you're in an active position, you're limited. You know, there are times when you have to be on site, even on holidays, even on Sundays. So back then, it was very challenging.
Challenging.
Very challenging. You know, even being married and all, you know. But she was understanding, but it was very challenging for her
course.
to, you call her, say, you're supposed to close the work at 5. And most of the time I used to extend my working hours to like 9 because of traffic. So I decided, why stay in traffic when I can just work more? So I worked till like 9. And when I look at how things are going, say for example, I've requested for a crane the next day, and we are not done yet because my target was to finish that day. If the target isn't done, I tell the guy we are not going home. So we stay. We'll stay for as long as we have to. So it's like
Yeah.
working 24 hours plus another 24 hours. We keep going. And yes, these are the things that
Yeah,
can break you down. But if you, not everyone will do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, not everyone will. But if you love what you do, because I don't like to work as if I'm working for who has employed me. I work as if, and somebody would say, who does that? But yeah, I work as if I'm working for myself because that's what's brought me this far.
Yeah.
That's what brought me this far. Because when you're doing what you do and you love to do what you do, somebody else is watching. You don't need your boss to see you.
Of course.
Somebody else sitting somewhere goes like, wow, this guy's work is impressive.
Yeah.
And he would recommend you to go higher. And yeah, that's how you can get through.
I'm sure there are lots of benefits that you enjoy aside the challenges.
Yes, there are a lot of benefits. Like I said, so if you do your work well and people notice, you would keep going higher. There are so many untold benefits that come with it. Like, yes, you're remunerated properly. Yes, that's what I see. Your remuneration is really good, better than what you hear around. And that's the first thing. The next one will be you would have that joy of having been credited with a project when it's done. You know, imagine you put up the presidential palace, or you're part of the team, or you're the guy in charge.
Oh yeah.
That's something to brag about. That's some bragging rights. That's
I
something to feel good about.
Yeah.
And you tell people about the challenges you encountered when you were doing it. The next one would be, I'd say that's on the end part, when you work, and you get to a point where you get employed somewhere else. You get benefits of, honestly, we engineers don't stay in one place.
Yeah.
We move around a lot. So you get the benefits of traveling around, seeing places more than other people would. Yeah, that happens eventually.
Okay.
It comes to the job.
Okay. I can tell that there aren't a lot of women in this particular career field. And I would want you to tell me why it is so.
I believe, for example, like I said, it starts right from the university. It starts right from there. The course is open for all. There are not many because I see that, first of all, during the course, like I said, when we started, there were a lot of us. Before we graduated, some people had dropped.
Okay.
Based on personal decisions, they decided to do business. So they feel, okay, I don't want to be doing such a stressful thing for the rest of my life, to be calculating mathematics every time. So you find the women who love mathematics and physics staying, because they feel like, well, I love this, so I'll stay. But the rest who felt, well, my dad has money, I can be a fee-paying student, I can be here, and I'll be called an engineer eventually, realize, no, this is not my game. I can't do this. So they will drop out. So that's where the sieving starts. And then when you get onto the field, lots of women opt to stay in the office eventually, because they realize what happens on the field is not our game.
Yeah.
You know, we can't do this. You know, this is a man's world. Let's leave it to them.
Yeah.
Because she feels, why would I want to stay on site for 2 days continuous without taking a bath? You know, I need it. And the man will feel, well, I'm just getting it done, so I don't care. Yeah.
But I also read like somewhere with the misconceptions of civil engineering that you don't really get promoted like other career paths. Like say yeah, an accountant can be promoted to a different field or business. I don't know for you. How is it?
It's quite true.
Okay.
Honestly, it's quite true because I'd say, for example, the Burj Khalifa itself,
Okay.
credit shouldn't go to the architect, right? Because the architect only designed it.
Okay.
Credit would go to the engineer who made it possible for it to stand stable. Because anybody can say, I want to put up a 200-story building. It's easy. You said word of mouth. And then the architect will say, okay, let's make it look like this. But the engineer would say, this is what we do to make it stand firm and not collapse.
Okay.
That's where the civil engineer comes
Okay.
in. But unfortunately, we don't get
You don't
credited
get
for
credited for.
our work. The architect gets credited because he say, wow, that's a beautiful edifice. And that's what everyone sees. Everybody sees aesthetics. Nobody sees the engineered aspect of
Yes.
it. And second thing is, the field is very competitive. And it's about, I'd say that field is about what you can show, not what you have as in qualification.
Okay.
So you would see someone who has a master's degree, and you will still see somebody who has a bachelor's degree being his boss. Because the person with the bachelor's degree has exhibited much experience in what he has.
Okay.
And you with your master's degree cannot come challenge him because when he speaks, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Even maybe he's not had the opportunity to go do his master's yet or his PhD, but he has the knowledge. He's well equipped. And you cannot, and that's how the engineering field works. It's based on what he knows, what experience he's had, right? Makes him speak more firm than anybody else. You have somebody with a master's degree being or hiding in the corner and not talking much and go, okay, whatever you do is fine, whatever you do. But some person will be all bold and knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, people will complain about that saying, okay, even though I have this qualification, I'm still where I am. And this young guy just comes to pass by.
Okay.
And that happens a lot. Yeah. Even in my company now, there are people who have higher qualifications, but I still sit on top of them.
That's quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I learned you guys are quite boring because you're always on the field. You don't get time to hang out with your friends. You're always on the field working.
Well, I don't say always on the field working, but because you're tasked with solving problems, every day is a problem-solving experience for you. Sometimes we solve problems that are none of our business. You're passing by a building, look at the building, and go like, this building is not stable. What would we do to make it stable? So your mind gets occupied with, I'd say, things that are none of your business. That's by my personal experience.
You guys
that's
should
what I
mind
see.
your businesses.
So your mind gets saturated in things that you see something and feel like if they had done it this way, they could have gotten a better result, But I'd say also not to infringe on anybody else's right. In engineering, there's not one approach to solving a problem.
Okay.
There are so many approaches. So nobody knows the parameters where this person considered before he achieved what he achieved. But still, you feel like I could have made it better. That's what we're occupied doing. So even when you're talking to someone, his mind is far away. He might be thinking of, okay, on site, this is going on. Okay, what will I do to solve it? So even though he's there with you, his mind is far off, trying to solve an issue. I remember back then, most of my Sundays were used to solve issues I encountered on site. Most Sundays, that's what I do. I just take a pen, paper, not even a computer, and I start to write down, okay, this is the problem, what do I do? And I start to do research, figure out what can be done or what can help. So you will eventually look boring.
Yeah.
You
Based on your experience in the field, the challenges that you've mentioned, and the benefits, where do you think or see this career path in the next 5 to 10 years?
For me? Okay. I'd see it going, I'd say generally very well. I'd see it going very well. I'd see me personally being much of an entrepreneur than being employed. Because, yes, that's why we all decided to go to school. Everyone will pretend and say, I'm going to school because I want to be smart. But you're not going to school because you want to be smart. You're going to school because you want to earn some money. If not for that, you would have stayed home and not bothered with education at all. But you want to get knowledge so you can earn money. So the end result of all this knowledge gaining is to make lots of money. So I see me directing to become more of an entrepreneur, like starting my own engineering firm, getting my own projects.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make the mistakes other people have made. It's good to say I want to start it now, or I want to start it right after school and do my own thing. But you make lots of mistakes, and you will leave lots of mistakes behind you. It's good to learn from people who are experienced, so that when you start on your own, that experience will take you through.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And your final words to people that would want to, who are studying civil engineering, or people that are contemplating on choosing civil engineering as a career.
Two words that will stand out is, first of all, is humility
Okay.
and dedication.
Okay.
That's the most important thing. Yeah, I was surprised I didn't say anything about their books, but that's all you need. You need to be humble and dedicated, because if you're not humble to your lecturer, he will not give you information. If you're not dedicated, you will not make it through. So these two things are the most important, even though there are other things around it. But for me, I think this will take you through.
Humility.
And if you continue the humility, you would exhibit it when you start working,
Okay.
and people will love you more.
Okay. So you said humility
And dedication.
and dedication. Thank you so much, Mr. Louis Inkumsah, for joining us on the CGC show to talk about civil engineering as a career. Thank you. It was an honor having you on the show. And thank you, too, for tuning in. We have been discussing civil engineering as a career. And our guest, Mr. Louis Inkumsah, mentioned two things that you need to have in order to be a successful civil engineer, which are humility and dedication. Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget, the show is proudly brought to you by the Association of African Universities. If you have any questions, any suggestions, you can send them via social media platforms at @A_TV on Twitter, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, and at AUTV Official on Instagram. Big thank you to GD Makeover GH for my makeup. Follow her on Instagram, and also Akosia Collections GH on Instagram for my beautiful blouse. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Aja Umi, and I'll see you next time.